Good afternoon, folks. Appreciate y'all for joining us at this TradeZero webinar, Tools in Action. My name is Nate Suleiman. I will be your host. Alongside me is going to be Mark Antoine, who is the Technical Product Manager. Rumor is may or may not get promoted by the end of the year. We'll hope for it to become a reality. The man who will promote him, hopefully, will be Dan Pipito, who is the co-founder and CEO of TradeZero. Gentlemen, appreciate you guys for joining me here today.
What's up?
Likewise, Nate, pumped up.
It's going to be a great one. And some of these tools I got a chance to kind of play with, right? With the Pro and with TZ1. So it's kind of great to have the web version and also the desktop version. There's plenty for us to go ahead and talk about. Let me go ahead and put up the disclaimer. And folks, we do see your comments in the chat as well. So if you have any questions as we're going through a couple of the topics, or I'm going to show you here in a moment, please feel free to let us know. We do have moderators that are taking note of the questions as well. And we will absolutely do our best to make sure you have those questions answered. Let me go ahead and let's go ahead and talk about the topics that we'll be discussing. And here's the main reason for this webinar as we move on to the next slide is, you know, a couple of months ago, I went to a nice fancy gym and there are all these equipments that I know are great for my physical health and it's gonna make me stronger, but I don't exactly know how to utilize them. It's similar to where, you know, you can give a great fancy camera to somebody, but if you don't know the settings, if you don't know when to use what, you're not going to have as great pictures as somebody else who does do that. So that's the purpose of this webinar. We've got a lot of great tools at TradeZero. There are three main ones that we're going to focus on today. We're not just going to tell you about the tools, but we're also going to do a little how to use them step by step so you can understand that in what situations would you utilize what for. Mark, if you've got the next slide ready to go for us. But we're going to go ahead and talk about the Pro Scanner, which Mark is going to lead us through. And then we'll have Dan talk about short locates. If you aren't familiar, TradeZero has won many awards when it comes to short selling. The locates is a big part of that. So Dan will go ahead and walk us through that, how to find them, how to utilize them. And then we'll also come back to multi-legs with Mark. So we'll talk about options. So whether you're a day trader, swing trader, like to go short, long, options, this is going to be a lot of great stuff for you right here. And, you know, Dan, I'll start with you real quick. There are a lot of great tools on TradeZero that we aren't going to talk about today. What was the purpose of focusing on these three as the main ones?
Listen, as everyone knows, trading is all about finding an edge, right? And I think these are three key features that help folks gain an edge in their daily trading activity. The other part of it is, just over the last couple of weeks in speaking with some of our top clients, I think that some of them were unaware of the locate credit back ability or the newly released stock scanner and how well that works. So we thought a great idea to kind of set this up so we can not only educate people, but also point them to how and when and why they want to use these tools.
And that's quite important because I know as someone who likes to go short, there's some times where it's like, okay, how much is it going to cost me? Can I go ahead and utilize all of them at once? Do I not have to? If I go ahead and short sell it, can I go ahead and use again? Do I need to buy again? So I know that's a lot of stuff that we will be going ahead and cover. But why don't we go ahead and kick things off again, folks? As we go through this, please let us know what questions and comments you have. I'll be keeping an eye on those things as well. Let's dive right into it with Mark with our Pro Scanner. Mark, the show is yours, buddy.
All right, beautiful. What's going on, guys? Thank you, Sinead. We're going to kick off here with the Pro Scanner. Now, some of you guys who have been using the latest versions of Zero Pro 647 and TZ1 Web, you'll have seen this already, but I'm going to set it up for you guys, give you a little intro to what it is and describe the problem that we're looking to solve right here, right? So it is the issue. Most traders struggle with this, and I'm including this in this myself. And so this was kind of built as a way for very selfish reasons for my problems to be solved when it comes to trading these small caps. And we'll talk about other uses of the scanner in just a second. But before we do that, look at the right side of your screens. Okay, on the right you'll see a chart. I know it's a little small, but I've zoomed out to go span across about 4 days, about 72 hours. And you'll see that the symbol starts at around $2 and hits a high of 56.40. Is there anyone in the chat? I'm not expecting an answer, but is there anyone in the chat who could tell me what symbol this is? There is a slight clue top left of the chart there, UG. But if you can hit me with the ticker symbol, I'll be very impressed. And Dan has promised prizes. But so what we're going to do is we'll come back to this in just a second. There we go. Craig Woods, UGRO. We're going to come back to this in just Suzanne. You got it. We're going to come back to this in just a second. But let's talk about what the issues are when it comes to identifying these kinds of movers. But before we go any further, think it's really important to really overstate the fact that TradeZero as a brokerage, we're not here to tell you or give you signals, right? Tell you what to trade. We're here to give you data points, right? And the data points we give you, you then make your own decisions based on your own risk analysis, your own risk management, your own entries, your own exits. Okay, so that's what we're here to do, and that's what the scanner is doing for us today. It's going to show you how it surfaces data points and facilitates your decision making so that you can take everything we give you, put it together, combine the dots, and essentially take your own trades or don't take your own trades, right? No trade is also a trade. So here's the issues that we're facing today. Manual scanning is slow. Right now, the majority of you, I'm guessing, will be using the top list in Zero Pro, TZ1, any of our platforms, mobile, for example. Or you'll most likely have a third-party paid scanner or some sort of third-party tool, which is allowing you to react to the markets, right? If we're using the top list as an example, any sort of top list is 100% reactive, right? You're essentially seeing the symbol load into the top list after it's already made its move. So you're essentially reacting to the move and hoping for a second leg, hoping for a third leg. What can we do in terms of the data points we give you at TradeZero to help you to make decisions and catch the first leg, right? That's the sort of first issue we face. In terms of external sources, the same third-party scanners that we've spoken about, yes, you have third-party sources. Yes, you have Discord chats, chat rooms, you have Twitter. There's many third-party sources out there, but the truth beneath everything that moves in the markets when it comes to small caps, options, large caps, everything is price and volume. That's what it comes down to, right? So how can we at TradeZero surface that price and volume to you guys in a way that's actionable, right? That gives you insights. That isn't just a chart that shows you, the market data that you're seeing already. How do we surface insights to you in a way where you can then take trades based on those insights, right? Or again, like I said, not take trades. Choose not to take trade. Now, the last point I'll raise is chasing. Okay, you log in, you see something in your top list. It's up 40%. You're already behind, right? Everyone who's already traded the first leg, the second leg, they're already probably in and out, right? Are you really going to risk the third, fourth leg? If you're long, the thing to really remember here, guys, is you don't have to be first, but don't be last. So in this case, you could have traded you grow up until 56.40, right? You could have, right? Maybe you wouldn't have taken it up here, but there were a number of opportunities in here. Just don't be last. That's it, right? If you're on the short side, you don't have to top tick the symbol. You don't need to hit it at 56.40, but do not be the one to bottom tick down here at $4 or $5. Okay, so we'll come back to this in a second, but let's talk about the Pro Scanner itself and the features of the Pro Scanner. So again, some of you may have seen this in the past, and of course, this is currently live on Zero Pro 647. Improvements on the way. So Marcus, I do see you've asked for audio alerts. Guarantee you those are on the way. And to be honest with you, I've been also asking for audio alerts myself. But let's take a look at some of the features here. So again, like I said, I know a lot of you have these third-party scanners, these ones that you pay for, where you see the symbol on a different screen, and you manually type that symbol into Zero Pro, TZ1, Zero Free, one of our platforms, and then you go ahead and trade, right? You can keep paying for those scanners where you have to manually enter and take precious time to enter those symbols into Zero Pro and our platforms, or you get the same symbols quicker through Pro Scanner, through Zero Pro, through TZ1, right? So let's take a look at some of the features. Real-time filtering. We allow you to filter based on price, volume, flow, all the obvious ones, as well as the special source, which is allowing you to filter based on 1 minute price movement and volume, and the same for 5 minute, 15 minute, etc., etc. Okay, so that's where I'm going to show you how that comes into play in just a second. Next, it's not a screener, right? This is not a screener. Anyone out there who's using FinViz, if you're using any sort of static screener where it takes fundamental data, that's perfectly fine, right? You can use FinViz or other screeners that are static for more investment style, swing style, trades which require some patience and a couple of days in between your entry and your exit. If you're day trading and you're trading these small cap type symbols, a screener won't cut it for you, right? You'll be chasing just like everyone else. You need a scanner. A scanner is real time. It is actively updating every single second and pushing real-time updates to your screens to show you what is happening in the markets based on your filters and based on your criteria. Okay. So when I say criteria, I'm essentially saying your filters in the top of the screen here, as you can see, if I just get my little trusty laser out, I've been wanting to use this for a while. Your filters up here, which I'll demo to you in just a second, and down below your results, you can customize the columns that shows. If you've got a 5-minute volume scanner, for example, like this one, you can go ahead and customize the columns to essentially be appropriate for those filters. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Once you've created a scan that you like, that you appreciate, that you want to keep, your lucky scan, for example, low float momentum explosion scan, right? You can save those scans, and you can do that in Zero Pro right now on 647. And I'll show you how you can do that in just a moment. But moving on. Those are the key features of the scanner. And remember, if you've got any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I'll get to them as I go through this. Let's take a look at an example, right? So let's just real quick remind ourselves of UGRO, right? $2 to $58 or 56.40 right here. Okay, that was a 2,000% move. Okay, now let's be honest, not all of us would be holding the full 2,000%, even if we got in early. But let's take a look at how the scanner functioned and how I personally use the scanner to identify the opportunity and take a trade. So the setup, right? So this is kind of boring, but it's worth going through. On Monday, March the 23rd at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, a press release hit the wire. Urban Grow, UGRO, announced a merger with Flash Sports and Media, bringing T20 Cricket League rights onto a NASDAQ-listed platform. Now, look, I'm going to hold my hands up, guys. I had no idea how big cricket was. I genuinely thought football was, the sport of the world. That's where the money is. Turns out the money is in cricket, and I've now subsequently learnt this after watching the UGRO move. But the screenshot you're looking at on the right side of the screen and the little scanner here, this is an excerpt from a video that I'm about to show you that shows the actual start of the move. I mean, if you feel free to go back in your pro charts and in your live platforms right now, go find the start of the move. This is what you'll see, right? And this is real time. The scanner caught the move at 253. Okay, over the next 48 hours, the price of the stock rose to 56.40. All right, when I opened the symbol, the price was sitting at it's a bit hard to read, but 252. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's look at this video in real time. And I see a question from Steve. Steve, this is not only with the paid platform. This is with TZ1, which is free, and it's also in Zero Pro, which is of course paid. But cool, let's have a look. So at this moment in time, it's 7:05 a.m. EST. I'm looking at NGRX. Immediately, I switch to UGRO. I've seen UGRO is up on the move. It's 17% up right now. Remember, look, it's 255 right now, 260 right now. It's not moving. It's yes, right. 20% is fine, but look at that volume. These are 5-second candles. That volume is terrible. I'm looking for more like 20, 30k volume right now, right? I'm not taking any trades on anything where it's trading less than 5k per or 20k per second per 5 seconds, all right? So it's making a little push here. It's umming and ahhing. It's not giving me the confirmation that I need to take this trade. Remember, price can tell you one story. Volume tells you a different story. The price is telling us a story of 20% up. The volume is telling me that it's not really ready to make the move yet. Boom, here we go. 10k volume in the last 5-second candle. That's the highest volume candle we've seen. It's now moved a good 15% up from where we first opened the chart. 50% now, right? So at its peak, 328, that hit 50%. It's now come back down. Of course, if you'd entered below at your own risk, of course, you could have exited somewhere around here. Now, that was the first leg. First leg's done. Now, the guys who are watching the top list are starting to come in, right? The guys who are reactive, watching the top list and not using a scanner, now they're starting to see the news. Now they're starting to try and jump in. You see here, it's having little movements here. The volume is increasing. Remember, these are 5-second candles, right? So every candle is a 5-second candle, and each one of these volume bars down here also represents 5 seconds. The highest volume we've seen so far is 15,000 shares traded in a 5-second candle. It's coming down here. I'm going to fast forward a little bit here just in the interest of time, but It's umming and ahhing. You see a nice little push there, 35k volume on that 5-second candle. It continues to drop. It consolidates. All right, now the top list guys are really coming into play. The guys who bought initially, selling off. And here, as you watch it, boom, we're making new highs. Heading towards the top, looking for a breakout. 308 and breakout. Just like that, right? Initially, you see here, this is where, if I just get my little laser pointer out, this is where we saw it. We saw it at the 245 level, okay, 253, that around there. It hit a high. It came back down. The guys who are watching the top list and not being proactive about the way they trade, they then see it. Then they jump in. And yes, okay, fine. You can make money through both ways, but wouldn't you rather see it earlier than later, right? That was a real-time video of the actual initial move of Ugrow, right? A stock which moved 2,000% over the last few days. Well, weeks, I guess. This happened a week ago. But anyway, all right, beautiful. Moving on. Let's get a live demo of the Pro Scanner. I won't spend too long on this, just in the interest of time, but I will show you guys my Zero Pro right here. So you should see my Zero Pro. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up a new scan for you in just a second. But let's take a look at the features of the scanner as it stands. So when you start Zero Pro, you'll see in the top bar the Pro Scanner right here in the middle. If you open a new Pro Scanner, you will see a window like this. And right now, the window is set to the top volume leaders. And I see a question from Mr. Giovanni Ferrara. Are there pre-canned scans? Yes, sir, there are. As you can see here, if I open this drop down, there are a number of pre-canned scans. Now, we are going to be adding a number of additional scans to this list here. Right now, you see small cap gainers, large cap gainers, fallers, top volume leaders, reverse watch, long bias, and reversal watch, short bias. Now, we will be adding to this list, but you can create your own custom scans. I do see a question from Stephen. Stephen, where do you find this? You can find this on TZ1. So if you go to the portal and click Launch TZ1, you can find the scanner in there. If you have access to Zero Pro through the Pro bundle, you can go ahead and launch Zero Pro. And just like I showed you over earlier on, click Pro Scanner in the top bar, and that will launch a Pro Scanner window for you, and you can go ahead and follow along. All right, back to this. So let's walk through the individual components of the scanner. So there's two parts or two components to a scanner. There's the filters and there's the columns. So right now we're looking at the top volume leaders, okay? And we'll talk more about the use case of that scan in just a second. But you can see here that I have 4 current filters or filter criteria loaded into my scanner. The issue type must be common stock. I don't want to see any ETFs. I don't want to see any warrants or anything like that. I just want common stock. You see the shares float is essentially stating that it must be a maximum of 500 million shares. Okay. Now, some of you will want to reduce this number down to about 100 million, just because anything above 100 million, difficult to move. But I like seeing up to 500 million shares on the float. Day volume must be at least 10K. This essentially will reduce the noise in the scanner, right? Now, again, this is fully customizable. Every single component that you see is customizable. And so although we recommend 10K in the preset, you can go ahead and change this, right? You can change this to 20K, 30K, reduce the noise as much as possible so that anything you do see in the scanner is worth actioning, okay? Volume 5 minutes. Now, volume over the last 5 minutes essentially is what it sounds like. How many shares were traded over the last 5 1-minute candles? Okay, over the last 5 minutes, and this updates per second. Okay, so this is updating in real time. Right now I've set this to 100K minimum volume traded over the last 5 minutes. That just again reduces the noise and helps me to really cut this list down. Now I'll be honest, this list quite long. With some of the other scanners I like to use, like the percent scan scanner, so the small cap gainer scanner, I prefer to go ahead and see only 2 or 3 symbols at a time. If you're seeing 30, 40 symbols in here, or in this case, 25, it doesn't help, right? It's a lot of noise. So let's go ahead and look at the columns now. in terms of the columns, I've set mine up to show me symbol, name, price, share float, volume over the last 5 minutes, and day volume. Now, the secret sauce here is I select volume 5 minutes over here, and then I make sure to sort by descending. That will show me the symbols with the highest volume over the last 5 minutes, and it will descend to be the lowest volume. Okay, so right now, SIDU, if we look at the chart here, SIDU is the highest volume over the last 5 minutes traded, and it's up about 40% on the day, right? So if you look at the top list, SIDU is only in the middle, right? So it looks kind of average. No big deal, right? But if you look at the volume tells you a different story. It tells you a story of something is going on, right? Now, yes, if I open up the other scanner, so I've got two scans here. The top scanner is the small cap gainers scanner. Now, this isn't showing SIDU, right? Because it's not increased over the last 5 minutes. It's actually decreased over the last 5 minutes. The thing with the volume scanner is it tells you where the party's at. It tells you where the shares are being traded. And sometimes just because it's not making a percent move and it's not moved up or down, the volume will tell you where to pay attention. That's what you always pay attention to, the volume. And you've all heard it before. You're not hearing it from me for the first time, but that's how the volume scanner works. If we take a look now at the small cap gainers scanner, VSell is up 7% over the last 5 minutes. Now, when it comes to these scanners, guys, we're not here using these as signals. We're here using these as questions, right? As soon as VSell hit the scanner, my immediate question is not where can I take a trade? It's why is this moving? Where is this going? What's the reason for this move? Is there a catalyst? Did news come out? Is there a Twitter rumor? What's going on for this to be moving? Now, I know that SIDU, I'm going to guess here. I'll be honest. I haven't read up on the stocks today. I'm assuming that it's something to do with the fact that there was a space launch by NASA yesterday. I've forgotten the name of the launch to the moon, Nemesis or something like that. Nemesis 2, maybe. They launched to the moon, right? And it just so happens that SIDU is now up 40% the next day. Okay, so you can kind of see, you draw some correlations there. But the key here for everyone listening is you have to ask why. Knowing that something is moving is not enough. It's about why. Why is SkyQ moving? Why is it up today 103%? Let's look at the daily chart or the 1 hour, or let's go 5 minute chart. Clearly, there was some sort of news in pre-market, okay? It hit a high, 655. It's come back down. It's now got a nice curl on it, right? That's a beautiful candidate for a possible trade. Now, look, again, all the scanner will do is bring it to your attention. It's not going to do any more than that. You've got to make your own decisions around where you think a good entry could be, right? So in this case, we've just dropped down to the 50 EMA on the 5-second chart. I would be wanting 486. That's my personal. Artemis. All right, sorry. Appreciate you, Ben and STR. So I'd be looking for a little lower, right? So the scanner brought it to my attention, but now I make the micro decision as to where I take an entry. And remember, no trade is also a trade. You do not need to smash your hotkeys just because you've seen something on the scanner. Now, it is 1 p.m. on a Friday. Things are getting kind of sleepy. So even though there are some things appearing in my mover scanner at the top, it's nothing too crazy. SkyQ is probably the best opportunity right now out there. The volume is good. I know GV is at the top of the volume scanner, but this is on the downside. I mean, if you look at this now, this is falling. But look at the 1 minute. Look at the 1 minute. It's hitting the 200 EMA. It's a nice bounce spot, right? So again, I'm not showing you this to tell you about individual stocks today. I'm telling you this because I'm seeing these opportunities purely because the scanner is showing them to me, right? And that's pretty much that. Cool. All right. So I have a couple minutes left on this. So let me show you a quick example of how you can go from scratch and create a scan. So we're going to create a small cap, let's say fallers, right? Small cap fallers. I want to see the stocks that have fallen the most in the past 5 minutes. I'm going to open up a new scan window here. I'm going to make this full size for you guys just so we can ignore the other two scans. And I'm going to click add new preset. Okay, so add new preset. We're going to call this small cap fallers, and we're going to put in brackets 5 minutes. All right. So what are top fallers over the past 5 minutes. We're going to set the share float to be a maximum of 250 million. There we go, 250 million. That shortens itself to 250M. We're going to set the, let's go for the day volume to be a minimum of at least 50,000 shares traded, right? I don't want to see anything that's not traded at least 50,000 shares. Honestly, that could be more like 1 million shares, but we'll keep it at 50,000 for now. I want to see a volume over the last minute of at least 10,000. All right, just because, again, reducing the noise. And lastly, I want to go to change percent 5 minutes. And I want to set the maximum of the change percent 5 minutes to be a negative figure, to only show me negative values and fallers, okay? So we're now going to set that to -1, all right? And we're just going to close this real quick. And now we're going to select our columns, okay? So let's deselect all of these columns right here. And let's really think about which columns we need. Remember, this is the 5-minute fallers scan, okay? So I'm going to go symbol, name. We'll get price in there. We're going to go change percent 5 minutes. This is the important one, guys. Change percent 5 minutes. This is the one we're going to filter on. Oh, sorry, sort by, okay? Share float, and we'll go day volume, all right? So now that I've got these scans or these filters in place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sort my columns out real quick here. And here's where it really shows itself. I'm now going to click the change percent 5 minute column. I'm going to set it to descending, okay? Sorry, ascending, right? So it starts off with the biggest faller first, and we just so happen to be looking at it, right? So GV and BDRX, if I just attach this to my group A, BDRX, a little bit of a faller there, nothing too crazy, but it's definitely falling 2% over the last 5 minutes. And let's look at GV. This is taking a 10% tumble over the last 5 minutes. Now, yes, you could flick through all of your top list and all of the symbols that you have available to you in the watch list, the top list, etc. Or you could scan for them. And you see in this case, I have 8. I have 8 symbols which match the criteria specified by myself in my filters. And through this now, I can save how much time, right? How much time can I save filtering and going through stocks manually when the system's just going to give it to me now, right? So the GV seems to be the highest faller. Now look, again, this gives you the data that you need to make a decision. But if you're long bias, this could be a bounce spot for you. If you're short bias, this could be a bounce into a short for you, right? Different people will interpret different scans in different ways because we're all different traders. All right. So I'm going to leave it there with the scanner. I have been yapping for a little while. But that's essentially the scanner. That's how you set one up. If you have any cool scans that you guys want to send us, feel free to tag us on Twitter, send us a picture. We love to see the way you guys are using our tech. But for the time being, I think I'm going to throw it back to Zunaid.
I appreciate that, man. That was a great breakdown, especially when you talk about, hey, the top list is different than a scanner. The purposes are different in terms of where you're able to see the information on the charts. A couple of things for me. There's 2 types of people in this world. One are individuals that trade on a 4-hour, and there are people that trade on 5 seconds. God bless your brain. Dopamine hits, all that stuff. That is insane. I don't know how you do it, but best of luck. That is incredible to kind of process all that information there. But also, you're going to go on timeout because how you didn't know cricket was a big deal in the world, I don't know. So we're going to put you in timeout. We're going to bring up Dan to go ahead and talk about his favorite topic in terms of short locates. Because, Dan, you'll have where a stock is moving. Yes. However, if you don't believe in the move because you feel like it's whatever the reason may be, fake news, however you want to justify it, you want to go short, but you want to be able to locate the shorts as well. Let me go ahead and share your screen so we know just how to do that.
If we could start off with the slide deck first, fellas, I think that'd be great.
All you.
Cool. So just getting back to basics, I'm sure most of you in the chat know conceptually how short selling works. But just to describe the trading strategy is you're looking to essentially sell a stock that you don't own at a high price and then buy it back at a lower price, thus making the difference between where you sold it and where you bought it back. This is a great way to hedge long positions to reduce your portfolio risk. And it also aids in price discovery and reduces speculative bubbles. This does require a margin account in order to short sell. As in the US, we have a $2,000 minimum for margin, and in Canada and elsewhere, it's just $500. If we can go to the next slide. So locates, understanding what is a locate. So at the end of the day, a locate is a permission slip, if you will, that gives your broker a reasonable basis to know that if you borrow the shares by shorting them and holding overnight, that we have a reasonable basis of knowing we're going to get delivery on those shares. So a locate is essentially a permission slip to short something intraday that is not easy to borrow. Everyday firms have an easy to borrow list. On our platforms, they're clearly denoted. When you punch up a symbol, there's a little green S next to a symbol on the order entry that tells you a stock is easy to borrow. Or it says LR, which means that a locate is required. So easy to borrow, those are your large cap stocks, your Apples, your Googles, your Intels, your Microsofts, etc. Also, there's a bunch of more obscure names on there, but typically they're much higher float symbols. They're in much more on deposit at other brokers or our broker, and so it just makes it easy to borrow. Then you have your non-easy to borrows, which are those are the stocks that do require a locate. And what's cool about a locate is that once you get a locate on a symbol, you can short cover as many times as you'd like. There's no limit. And I'm going to show you something cool that I think is a very underutilized feature on our platform, that once you're no longer done with the locate, there's actually another trade that's able to be happened. And then finally, you have your reg show threshold securities. This is something that if you guys want to know what's on the reg show list, you can just Google like NASDAQ reg show or NYSE reg show. Each day, each of the exchanges publish a list. These are your hardest to borrow of stocks. And so there's a different rule set around shorting reg shows. And we treat it also differently in the platform, which I'm going to show you guys. But the definition is that the stocks that enter that list, they've had 5 consecutive days of failing to deliver. So a customer borrows a stock, next day the broker can't find the shares, they wound up getting bought in, that's day 1. And when that happens 5 days in a row, they get added to this list. So with respect to the short facilitation, there are 3 types of permission slips, if you will. First is your standard locate. And as I just said, you can short cover multiple times. You can't short more than you've located on a per trade basis, but you can continue to reuse for the same amount of shares as many times as you'd like. These can be credited back, which I'm going to get into as I feel a very underutilized feature, but yet powerful feature on our platform. These are not easy to borrow, and the locate pricing is very easy to understand. The single-use locates and the pre-borrows both speak to being able to short reg show securities. And the single use, and basically what the SEC has said is that on a stock that's hard to borrow / threshold, you need a good locate in order to short a stock. You can't reapply your locate. And so the concept of single use means I can buy this locate, I can short the stock, I can cover it, but if I want to short it again, I have to go get another single-use locate. Now, the sister to the single-use locate is the pre-borrow. So this is really designed for, and the way that we facilitate it is really designed for more active traders, or those traders that know, I'm going to hold this overnight. I know this could be a hard-to-borrow stock. I want to make sure that I actually have the shares so that I don't get bought in. So it serves 2 different purposes. But on a pre-borrow, on a threshold security, you can buy the pre-borrow and short cover, just like you would with a standard locate. And this is on a threshold security. It also covers you if you short those shares, hold it overnight to the next day. We know that we've allocated a pre-borrow to you, so we're not going to look to buy you in on the next trading day. Next one. So the secret sauce, the credit back feature, or the mark for credit. This is a feature that really came out of my partner and I really kind of scratching our heads and wondering how could we create more liquidity in some of these stocks where the locatability is in very short supply. How can we create more? So what our locator platform does is it gives traders an edge because, number one, it creates an additional source of supply for folks to draw from. And number two, it gives traders some peace of mind because they know, even if, at 10 o'clock in the morning, for whatever reason, TradeZero is out of locates on XYZ, they know by nature of the credit back facility, there's always opportunity for them to participate when shares do become available. So how does it work? Once you purchase a locate and you're no longer, and you're not using it, in other words, it's not tied to an open short order or an open short position, it's in your inventory, which you can either use to short, or you can click the little credit button and it makes those shares available, that permission slip available for the number of shares to the next TradeZero customer that wants to short that same stock. This is done on a FIFO basis, so first in, first out. And when another customer comes along and purchases it, you're actually going to recoup a portion of the locate fee of where the permission slip is trading at that moment in time. So it gives you an edge. More money in your pocket is what trading is all about, right? Where most other brokers, at least or many of them, this facility does not exist. So it's a clear differentiator for us. I'd like to show you guys now how this all works in an actual live environment. So here is my layout. Unfortunately, I can't really zoom in to show you guys, but if for any of you guys on the platform, you'll be very familiar with this window. It's also, if you're not sure, you can click this little short locate button at the top toolbar, and that would open a new locate window. Now, the locate window works hand in hand with our level 2, our order entry. As I was telling you guys before, so this was a hot short today, TMDE. You see right next to where the symbol is, there's that little red LR, which that means locate required. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type TMDE into my locates window. I can click the locate button and it's going to come back with a price. You see it's 0.0045 per share. And what I'm going to do right now is accept it. And notice a few things have happened, right? First off, the little red LR is now showing a green 100 of 100. That means that I have 100 shares available to short of a total of 100 that have been located. Additionally, as I was talking about before, in the inventory, you see that I now have this TMDE available where I can credit it back. And I could click that button and make it available to the next TradeZero customer. So let's actually do a short here. Let's show you guys how this thing works. I'm just going to do it at the market. Not going to mess around with... okay. There we go. So now I've shorted 100 shares of TMDE. And I'm down 50 cents. Okay, no biggie. Let's go now. And notice that when I've done that, the little red LR is back because I don't have any locates available to short more shares. But when I cover the stock, let's do it. We see that I actually made 50 cents. And the 100 shares are now back and available to be credited. So again, the 100 of 100 is here again. So let's now show you guys how this works. And there's no guarantee that when I click this button that the shares are going to get bought by someone else. But there's a high degree of likelihood when a stock is in high demand because there's generally a lot of turnover. So I'm going to click that button and we're going to sit here and we see that now The red LR is back because these shares are now allocated to the credit pool. So we can't let you go short on something because someone may buy that and then all of a sudden you don't have a locate. So we'll just let that sit there. There's one other thing I wanted to show you guys in real time, because we talked about the single use and the pre-borrows for threshold securities. So TURB is a threshold today. You can check the NASDAQ Reg Show threshold list. It's on there, trust me. So when I click locate, it's going to come back with two options here. I can choose a pre-borrow at 7 cents or a single-use locate at 3/4 of a penny. And once I click either one of those, I'm now going to be in a position to short TURB. I selected the single use. And so just looking at the current setup here of TURB, I have 100 available. I'm going to short it right now, which I'm now short 100 shares. I'm going to come in and cover it. Notice the red LR is back. But what's going to happen when I cover this one this time is the red LR is going to stay in place because this is a single use locate. Yeah, you can't put in fractions of a decimal in when sending an order. So now that I've executed and done that round turn on the short sale, you see that the red LR is back because, again, this is a threshold security. It's hard to borrow, and I chose the single use locate feature. So it's very important for traders to know that, hey, when I have purchased a locate, money's come out of my account, it really just benefits you where when you know that you're no longer needing that locate that you purchased, just click the credit button. Even if you shut off your computer and you leave, it's just like sending an order out to a limit order out to buy a stock. You don't need to be logged in order for that to happen. And when it does execute, you'll actually receive a credit back into your account by way of the fee credit. So it really makes sense whenever you no longer need something, regardless of the situation, whether it is you never used it, whether it is that you did a few successful trades, the reason doesn't matter. You want to make sure that you make that liquidity available to the next person, because someone can and will come along and take those shares and have them reapplied to their account, and you would receive a credit back on that trade.
There have been plenty of times where I will want to short a stock and I'll go ahead and get the locates, but then the move may have happened or I didn't feel comfortable with it anymore, whatever the case is. And this is kind of nice to say, okay, cool. Plan B is to go ahead and get the credit back as well.
That's right.
So that's always something new that I've learned today. And I see folks in the chat asking questions as well. So keep them coming again. Some of them we may be able to answer. Some of them we may not be. I think, someone asked about the average price or cost for shorting a stock. I think that's a little bit too vague to answer, but I want to bring it up.
It's really stock dependent, guys. The more availability, the cheaper it is. The less availability, the more expensive it is. I had someone the other day, one of our traders, saying to me, "Hey, this is a $3 stock. Why is the locate at 4 cents?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but you see, it's a 600,000 share float. That means that there was just not a lot of availability, even though it's $3. So there's not a lot of opportunity to source liquidity on that." And we work with 14 different liquidity providers that help us facilitate the locate needs for our customers. So if we're not finding it, chances are no one's finding it.
Yeah. And then just real quick, because I think this one's important. Question is, if I mark a locate for credit, can I still use it if I change my mind? I assume they can just say, take it out of the market pretty much, right?
Yeah, you would just cancel the credit order and then just go and short it again. Okay. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Very easy.
Mark, I'm not going to ask you who won the latest Cricket World Cup. We're not going to do that to you here, but I am going to ask you to go ahead and talk about complex options intro, right? Options are always a thing that people have. It's been more and more popular throughout the years, especially since 2020. And now people are learning how to kind of use call spreads, debit spreads, put spreads, all that good stuff. Tell us what you got in terms of the more complex options that we can go ahead and utilize.
All right, beautiful stuff. Thank you, Sinead. So we're going to be talking about complex options today, and we're going to be reviewing our existing functionality and talking about some updates we've made in the upcoming versions of Zero Pro 648 and above, which should be released in about 2 weeks. So everything you're seeing here today, if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with your BD representatives, and they can always get back to you regarding complex options. And right at the end, Dan is going to take us through how you can actually get access to complex options and be approved to trade level 3 options themselves. We're going to be keeping this at a very high level today. The webinar is only really meant to be an hour. We've got 15 minutes left, not a massive amount of time, but we're going to try and get through the high level stuff. And any questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat. So multi-leg options. Before we review this, let's take a slight step back. All right, take a step back and let's look at level 2 options. All right, level 2 options are what the majority of users at TradeZero are currently trading if they are choosing to trade options, and that can include long calls, long puts, covered calls, and also cash secured puts as well. Right, so that's where you go long on calls or puts, or you go short on a call with a stock portion to your spread, and cash secured puts, of course, where you put up cash collateral against shorting a put. So you have those strategies available to you already, right? So single leg, it does count as a strategy, even though it's not a spread and it's only really one leg. Let's talk multi-legs now, right? If you would like to trade multiple legs within one spread, within one order at the same time, Zero Pro now allows you to do that in the existing Zero Pro 647 in production. We're going to show you some new functionality in 648, but at this point in time, you can go into 647 and trade multi-leg options if you are approved for level 3 options trading. Again, Dan will show us how to be approved or how to get approved for level 3 right at the end of this presentation. But just to cover some key functionality within multi-leg options of Zero Pro, here's the options chain we all know and love. Strategy selection, you can select between your single legs, your verticals, butterflies, condors, and then the iron versions or the iron variants of those strategies. So the iron butterfly, the iron condor, the straddle, the strangle, etc., right? And we're going to talk about setting up a single, setting up a strangle, and then also an iron condor later on in a demo. You have the options chain. Again, I'm sure you'll all be very familiar with it. You can select the columns you'd like to view, the number of strikes you'd like to see, etc., and customize your order ticket to essentially be the trade that you would like to send off multi-leg wise. Leg configuration, you can customize the strike, the expiration, the quantity, and side. Of course, it is worth mentioning today that you won't be able to necessarily create custom spreads. You will be able to modify the width, the strikes, the sides of individual legs off your strategies. For example, iron butterflies, iron condors, but they would have to keep the same structure in terms of still being an iron butterfly or still being an iron condor. Level 2 and level 3. So we're going to cover level 2 options in a second, but the focus of this is level 3 options multi-leg. Let's take a look at this real quick. So this is new functionality coming in Zero Pro 648 very soon, in a couple of weeks. This won't be available to you right now, so don't rush off trying to test it out, but this will be coming very soon. And it essentially is a tool that allows you to see your P&L analysis over time, taking into account the price of the underlying may fluctuate as time goes on. And we'll talk about this in just a second, but essentially it's an interactive risk graph. It shows you your max loss, your max profit, your profit chance, where your break-even points are, and your net debit or net credit, depending if you're selling or buying the spread. It shows you your Greeks, your time curve projections, so you can essentially project where your P&L would be dependent on the underlying price over the course of time towards the expiration of that spread. So let's go ahead and jump into a live demo. Oops, sorry. All right, here we go. So I've got Zero Pro 648 loaded up. This is a developer version of the application, so any small little niggles, please don't call those out just yet. We are working on this, but as you can see on the left, I've got a nice little chart. In the middle, I've got my options chain with a new options strike slider below the chain. which I'll show you in just a second. And on the right, we've got the new options analysis P&L graph, also known as the risk graph. Currently loaded in, I've got a long call. So if we just look at the chain, I've loaded up AMD, and we are currently looking at a call on the 215 strike, and we are buying the call. So it's a long call. And if you look on the right on the chart, you can see here the risk graph is extremely clear in what it's saying to us. Right now, I know it's a little daunting looking at this thing for the first time, but you're gonna have to learn it sooner or later. So this is how it works, and I'm gonna explain each data point to you, and when we put them all together, it should make sense. Right here in the yellow line, which you can see vertically, this is the current price of your underlying. Okay, so if you look at the price of AMD on a chart, you can see it's currently sitting at around 214.90. Okay, so 214.90, that's right, that's that right there. Right here you see I have the 215 strike. It's in green, a little green circle, because we are buying the call. All right, now I want you to notice how as the x-axis, the price of the underlying increases, our profit also increases. You see that? It's a call, and we all understand single leg calls, right? So as the price of your underlying increases with a call, in theory, as long as the Greeks aren't playing games with you, your contract price premium will also increase, and you should be able to sell out for a profit. Okay, so right now the debit on this would be $84. If the price of the underlying, so AMD, were to increase from what it is right now, which is $214, if it were to increase $4 to $218, if you look at my chart here, the profit on that, on my position of one contract on the 215 call, would be $216, around about there. Okay, that's sort of how you would use this when it comes to estimating your profit based on the movement of the underlying. Now, it's not just about profit, right? It's about understanding your risk, and that's where the loss side of things comes in. You can see here there's a maximum loss of $82, which means even though if I zoom out, the potential profit or max profit is unlimited, given that this is a call, and the only thing really in the way is the expiry of the call, and it would need to, it's never really unlimited because the call will expire. But if the price were to increase to $300 for AMD in the next 24 hours, given that or 6 hours, given that this is a not even 6 hours, 3 hours, given that this is a 0 DTE call option, you would be up $8,000, right? So the profits are unlimited on this. The downside is what's more important here. Right now, we have a maximum loss of $100. Now, this does change with the Greeks, with IV, with all the various things that are moving for AMD. So the downside is now it's increasing as we're talking. So $113 is your max loss if I were to take the position right now. The reason why it's $116 is because the premium you pay is $116 for the contract, right? And you see here how we have a nice gradient down, straight line down, until we reach this level here with a 215 strike, at which point it straightens out and goes through a horizontal line across, and that's our 115 loss, max loss. That's essentially because, well, I mean, it's worth noting that when you're reading these graphs, whenever you see a change in the angle of the line like that, it's a really good way to tell you have a strike there, right? I understand that makes not much sense right now, but in a moment when we get to a more complex graph, you'll see why noticing these changes in angles is important to knowing where your strikes are. Okay, so that's a single leg. So we'll understand a single leg. Let's now take a look at selling a strangle. Okay, so this is a more complex risk graph. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this out to a further expiry, and we're going to go ahead now. Never mind. We'll stick with the 0 DTEs. Now, let's look at all the various points in this. All right, so we have two legs, right? It's a short put and a short call, right? it's a short strangle overall, right? When you put those two together, you get a short strangle, right? We're selling the spread and we're receiving a premium or a credit of $86. All right. Let's look at our various values. Our max loss here is $127. You can sell it at $127. Well, sorry, no. To correct myself, the max loss is unlimited. All right. With short strangles, your max loss is unlimited. Your max profit is capped. So the max profit in this case is $94. The max loss, unlimited. Okay. Because you're selling the call and you're selling the put. Now, in this case, what we're looking for the price of the underlying to do is stay between the range of our break even. Okay. So our break even in this case is 214 in terms of the underlying price, the lower band, and the upper band is 218. All right. Now, if the price of AMD, the underlying, leaves and goes below the 214 break even, the lower band, we're now in loss, right? And it's an unlimited potential loss. So you'd need to exit before it gets too bad. If the price of the underlying goes above 218, over here, you see, again, similar story, unlimited loss. If the price of the underlying stays between the two break-even points at the time of expiry, you're in profit. Okay. Now it's a question of how much profit. The maximum profit you can make is if the price of the underlying stays between your two strikes, which is 215 and 217.50. Right. So if we stay in this $2.50 range, which we're currently at the bottom of right now, we will achieve max profit, which is $97. As we fall towards one of those break-even points, you can see here, the profit that we collect would be lower, right? So down to 0. Same on the higher side. Okay, so before we move on, because the potential loss here is so high, what can we do to mitigate that loss? What we can do is we can add 2 more legs, right? And this is where multi-leg strategies really come into their own. You can go ahead and add 2 more legs to make this into an iron condor. If you add a long call and a long put, this is what you get. An iron condor. So you can see here now, we have a defined max loss and a defined max profit. It's not just a defined max profit anymore where you have unlimited losses. We've added these 2 outer wings. They're called the wings, right? 212.50 on the low side and 220 on the high side. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and switch the expiries to be a date that's a little further out. We're going to go April 10th. All right. And just like that, we now have a max loss of $70 and a max profit of $180. Remember, we're selling the spread, which means we collect the premium on this spread. And as long as it stays between the bounds of the break-even points, that's for us to keep. Okay. Ideally, it would stay between 215 in terms of the underlying and 217.50, right? It's a very tight spread. Let me show you the same information on a chart. All right. Let me just make this a little bigger for you guys so that you can see this all. All right, we're going to switch to the 15-minute here. Cool. This is the AMD chart, the underlying chart for this spread. Okay. Plotted on the chart are a few lines. I know it's a little difficult to read, but what I'll do is I'll just unlock this for you so we can really zoom in here. Okay, cool. This is the 5-minute chart. I've got a few lines on my chart here. I'm going to explain each one. The green lines, top and bottom, are the outer wings. All right. That's the 212.50 and the 220. There you go. 212.50, 220. If we fall below or above one of these lines, we are at max loss, which is a $60 loss. All right. Now, if we fall between the break-even points, which is the blue lines, 219.40 and 213.10, 15 now, and the green lines, that's still a loss. But you see here, look at the graph. It's telling us exactly what loss we'll be at, dependent on the price. So we can understand before we take the trade where we'll be, depending on where the stock goes. So in this case, if the stock moved down towards 212.50, we'd end up towards $70 max loss, you know, going through $30 to $50 to $70. Now, the more important part of this, we have the two middle legs here, right? 217.50 and 217.50 and 215. All right. If we manage to have the price of the underlying stay between these two strikes at the time of expiry, we'll end up collecting the maximum profit in terms of the maximum premium. Okay, so you see here, 190 is the current max profit, and we'd collect that full amount as long as the price of the underlying at the time of expiry is between those two strikes. All right, that is the long and short of get the pun. That is the long and short of trading multi-legs or setting up your multi-legs so that you can go ahead and understand the projection of P&L over the course of the next however many days until expiry. Okay, so let me go ahead and send a multi-leg order now for you guys. I quite like this trade. If I switch the expiry on the chart, you'll see here I've taken 4 legs. What I could do is I could expand the width of the two wings. Okay, now I've increased our max profit to $375, and I have also increased the max loss. But if you look at the profit chance over here, I'm going to switch it back to what it was before. I've increased the profit chance by widening the wings, right? So right now it's 14.6%. I'm going to widen my wings, and just like that, it's 23.4. All right. If I want to further widen my profit chance, what I can do is I can try and increase the max profit zone. Okay. Now, by increasing the max profit zone, I will decrease the max profit itself, right? But it could still be worth it. So let's try it. Let's check it out. Just like that, I've increased the max profit zone to be $2.50 to now $7.50 in terms of dollar amount between the max profit low and the max profit high. So $212.50 to $220. And what I can do now is I can say to myself, fine, I'm collecting less premium on this. In fact, I'm collecting half the premium I was collecting when I had the strikes quite close together. But the profit chance of it ending up between these two strikes is a lot higher because it doesn't have to move as much, right? And so that's a nice little leg setup there. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go ahead and send the order like so. Here we go. Confirmation window, send order. And instead, let me go for a market order. Like this. There we go. Market order executed. Now, of course, it was a market order, so I did get a little slippage there, and it executed at the market. And so I'm slightly down. Of course, not best practice. I'm doing this just for the webinar. If you switch over to your paired open positions tab, you can see that I now have a spread, AMD, iron condor, and it shows you your 4 legs. If I expand this, you'll see that I have a number of legs here, 4 legs, and it shows your put, call. Okay, your long, short, long, and it reflects the same exact thing we entered into our order ticket over here. All right. Now, of course, you can go in and look at all your values, your portfolio values, etc. But we won't do that right now. What we'll do is let's pretend that we have had the spread open for a few hours. We've been trading other things. So, for example, I'm trading SPY. I'm somewhere else now, right? I'm doing other things. I'm not necessarily trading that anymore. And now all of a sudden, I'd like to close the spread. All right. How do I close the spread in an emergency? All I do, I click AMD Iron Condor. What it does, it loads it into the ticket for me. I hit buy. I send the order now. Send order. Oh, oops, my bad. I was long on the Iron Condor. That's my bad. So let me go ahead now and just close all these out. Double click it. Send order. Send. I've just closed that first spread out. Let me just close this other spread out that I accidentally opened. There we go. I've closed those 2 spreads out. Now I'm going to also close this out over here. And I'm going to press send order. And there we go. That closes that spread out. So by double clicking the spread in the paired open positions tab, it will essentially open up a window with the closing trade ready to send, and you could simply go ahead and send it. All right. So we are up on time. I think I've gone over a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there, but we will definitely have a more in-depth options analysis type webinar very, very soon. But Zunaid, back to you.
I was going to say that I love the 1-2 punch of having the preset. Like, you can click iron condor. It says, okay, here's like the default. You can change the wings, and then you're able to visually see your P&L possibilities with the chart that you have on the right side. But then exactly what Jeff said, again, learning something new today as well, is on your charts, it also notates where the legs need to go or where the stock needs to go in terms of the price point based on the trade that you may have open as well. So that's something new that I learned today. So I appreciate the insights on that. I know we had a couple of questions. We'll kind of go rapid fire on these just for the sake of time. Let's go one for each of the sections. So for scanners, typically a pro scanner, I would assume, is used heavily through the morning part of the day, right? Because there's a lot happening and you want to go and capture it. Do you still find it beneficial in, say, power hour, 3 to 4 market time?
Yes, yeah, 100%. So the thing with the scanner is it's extremely useful pre-market and after hours. Okay, if you're looking for intraday trades during regular hours, it's just as useful. Okay, but yeah, oftentimes things aren't necessarily always going to be. Sometimes it's a bit of a snooze fest during regular hours. Okay, 1 p.m. for example, today we were showing the scanner off and things weren't really moving. We had SkyQ moving, but it wasn't too crazy. Sometimes the volume will tell the story, and that's when you switch to a volume scanner. Okay, and remember, it always comes back down to the same thing. Sometimes no trade is a trade. You don't need to force trades. The scanner is not going to create trades for you. The scanner is simply going to give you a view of the opportunities that are out there, and you make your own decisions around those. So just because the scanner shows nothing doesn't mean you have to go out rooting a trade out and trying to make the scanner show something, because sometimes there's not much happening. So use it sparingly, use it in a way that's clever, pre-market, after hours, and during regular hours. You're looking for volume. You're not necessarily always looking for price movement.
And then with locates, I think you kind of already answered this, but just to go quickly on it, if someone marks a locate for credit, what happens if they, can they still use it if they want to change their mind? Can they go ahead and just get a credit back? Can they cancel it and then use it themselves? Functionalities is there, I assume.
Yeah, it's there. All you would do is cancel the mark for credit order. There's a red cancel button right next to the open order, and it makes the shares become immediately available for your next short.
Awesome. And then for complex options, I know we saw this in the chat here as well. Which multi-leg strategies can people use in Zero Pro today?
Yeah, so there's various multi-leg strategies available. Iron condors, which we demonstrated today, condors, which we have here, which is the non-iron variant. Iron butterflies, you have butterflies. We have the vertical, which is a favorite of a lot of people. We have the long strangle. We have the long straddle, and then we also have some additional strategies where you have an equity leg as well.
Sweet, awesome. And then as Jeff went ahead and pointed out, there's a lot of capabilities that Zero Pro has at the moment. A lot of those capabilities are also going to TZ1, which personally is what I love, especially when I'm traveling. That is not my decor in the background. So it's always great to be able to use those things. But before we go ahead and end things, Dan, you are the man. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but final thoughts before we kind of go ahead and wrap this up.
So I think it's important that, first of all, we want to thank everyone for coming today. And we're going to be doing a lot more of these. And I think that, Mark kind of touched on it, especially as it relates to options. We could have spent hours just talking through options, various strategies, what they mean, when to use them, what the risks are, what the profit of it potential is. And so as we roll out new features on the platforms, like the new version of Zero Pro 648, the update to TZ1 to include multi-leg options trading, we really want to stay ahead of the education on those features. So expect to hear from us again in the near future, and hope all you guys are able to make it. If you have any questions on anything that either we didn't cover today or anything else related to the service, you can hit our website. Our live chat's available 24/7. And, we're happy to help with any questions that you may have.
don't want to go into too much details of what Batman's asking, but I didn't give you a chance to talk about how you can get access to the option that Mike
Thanks,
talked
Bruce
about. So
Wayne.
if you could give us that, that'd be great.
Yeah. So if you guys can put up the deck real quick, last page. Yeah. So this is a screenshot of the client portal. All you guys should probably know what this is. When you log into the portal, you want to click on the account section, followed by the options application. And then right from there, you can request access to level 3. And there'll be some questions that you need to fill out talking about your experience and what your risk tolerance is, etc. And then once that's submitted, an options principal will take a look at that and get you approved if suitable. So it's a pretty easy process.
All right, awesome. Appreciate that. And again, folks, appreciate you guys for joining us. If you already have access to TradeZero, you're trying to figure out how to do different things, go ahead and email your reps. And of course, if you're not currently a member of TradeZero, depending on what country you live in, there's some opportunities there to welcome bonuses and all that good stuff as well. Like Dan said, there's a lot more educational content coming in terms of what TradeZero has to offer, but also what trading patterns and different things can look like. So we will have more webinars in terms of how to trade double bottoms, double tops. So be on the lookout for all that good stuff. And we appreciate your time. Enjoy your Easter and enjoy the day off. And Mark, Dan, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
See you, folks. Bye-bye.